Vehicle crashes are responsible for thousands of deaths and millions of injuries each year. In addition to drivers impaired by alcohol or drugs, and those impaired by distractions such as the use of cell phones and texting while driving, medically impaired drivers are becoming an increasing public health concern.
And I'm so happy to have Dr. Bonnie Dobbs. You are from the University of Alberta. Your expertise in a program you've developed, I think, is so important, and it relates to driving among older adults and dementia, the onset of dementia. Describe your program briefly for us.
Thanks, Greg, and again, thank you for your interest in this area. We know that the incidence, the number of new cases of dementia, and the overall prevalence of dementia is going to increase significantly in the next 2 to 3 decades. And that's due in large part to the aging of the baby boomers, my cohort. Having said that, we know that in the United States, for example, there's about 13.5% of the population 65 and older that has dementia. In Canada, it's about 11%. A significant percentage of that population is driving. And we know that with a illness such as progressive dementia, Alzheimer's disease, it's not will driving become impaired, it's when will driving become impaired. One of the really important considerations in terms of driving and dementia is to not make decisions about licensing or retention of the licensing on diagnosis alone. In that if you look at the data, about 2/3 of individuals in the early stages of dementia are unsafe to drive, but 1/3 are still safe to drive. So if we revoke licenses based on diagnosis alone, we're unfairly penalizing that third. And the reason that driving is such an important issue in the course of the illness is that we know that in North America, in particular, a license is associated with independence and mobility. Sure. Revocation of driving privileges means that the person doesn't have the independence or the mobility. And for the individual with dementia, it's a significant loss, it's a stressor, but it's also a stressor for families, for caregivers.
You really need an outside person who has no interest. I don't want to tell him that he can't drive and that I think there's something wrong with him, because he'll get angry, and that, of course, is the crux of the matter. I wanted someone else to make that decision. He wouldn't then not blame me, but think of me as being the bad guy. Someone else has to be the bad guy. The spouse or the caregiver can't.
And you know, at least if there were to be at some point regulation put into place, it takes it away from the responsibility of the family to have to enforce such an action. And it's much easier when you have, some outside body, some governmental body who says you must do this or it must be done this or that way. Yeah.
And any of your family members that are watching the program today that has a family member, a relative with dementia, understands if they're struggling with the driving issue. One of the difficulties, the tragedies associated with an illness such as dementia is it robs the individual not only of their ability to drive, but it also robs them of their insight. And that's why the issue is so difficult for caregivers.
Well, I'm on schedule to get my license back now, and I feel very confident, and I am feeling better.
Well, once we get in the car, it's always the same issues. Explaining to him why he isn't allowed to drive is it's daily. We explain it daily, and sometimes we get a little frustrated. Oh, I put the club on.
I've been driving all my life, and I still feel that I can drive, although the doctors have restricted me from driving. It's a very objective, I really object to not being able to drive. And I feel that I see some people out there driving that are not as good at drivers as I am, and they still have their license, so I complain about it just about daily and just about hourly.